Yo, welcome to windy and sunny Joshua Tree, California. I got this Tesla P100D behind me, and I got this DJI Mavic Pro 2, and today, you and I, we're gonna be making a DRONECEPTION. Alright, if you don't know what a DRONECEPTION is, that's okay. I don't expect you to. It's not like an official name or anything. It's just a name that I heard someone refer to them as one time, and it just kind of stuck. But a DRONECEPTION is a series of drone images that are blended together to create this sort of warped, mind-bending visual. And I'll put 3 examples on screen so you can get a better idea of what we're talking about here. The one in the middle is of my fiance walking back to our villa in the Maldives. Shout out Angsana, by the way. And this image actually consists of 3 different drone images from 3 different angles, and I went ahead and stitched them all together in Photoshop to create this kind of mind of a visual that you see here on camera. Alright, so a couple tips. For this to be as effective as possible, I recommend a location in which there's a long straightaway of some sort, whether it's a road, trail, path, rail tracks, etc. So without a long leading line, it's just going to be really difficult to sell the effect, and it also helps in post. You know, it gives you that visual guideline to the edit that I'm going to show you in a little bit. I also recommend having a subject in the photo, because it looks cool, but it also offers a really good starting point for the first shot that you need, which I'm getting right now. So you can actually do this effect with 2 photos. I usually recommend 3 or 4, but you can actually do as many as you want. The more angles you hit on this graph that I'm showing you on the screen, the more flexibility you'll have in the editing process. I'm going to try to be hitting these 3 or 4 angles right here. Okay, so for the first shot, you want to be maybe 10 to 20 yards behind your subject or point of focus. And in this case, it's the car, and maybe around 10 to 20 yards off of the ground as well. I actually had it on the side of the road because the traffic was picking up, and my plan was to Photoshop it back in the middle of the road, but then I went ahead and just drove the car back into the center because I wanted to avoid the trouble in post. All right, so I'm rolling with the Falcon doors open. Probably everything is gonna fall out of this freaking car. For your second shot, you want to go down a bit more down the road, maybe another 20, 30 to 50 yards, and then you want to angle your camera a little slightly more downwards. And then for the final shot that we're getting here, I'm just going to angle it all the way down, and then I'm going to get pretty high. I recommend going up another 100 yards if you can. The reason why is you want to really sell the effect, and the higher you go, the better. Alright, so now we got all the photos we need. We're back here in the lab. I'm going to fire up Photoshop and show you guys how to edit this. I probably should have shot more photos. I'm not super confident in the photos that I have. I was in a bit of a rush. I had to get back to LA, so I wish I had like 10 more minutes. Probably just should have stayed. But alright, let's fire up Photoshop. Here we go. Here we are in the screen recording, and these are the images that I've taken. And I'm going to do this kind of quickly. I'm just going to try to give you a general idea of how to do this. But here are my images, so I'm going to go ahead and create just a big file to work with in Photoshop. I'm going to go 6,000 by 9,000 pixels in height. And the first thing that I actually did is I went through and picked the very best photos that I believe will work best for this edit. And I took them into Lightroom, and I just applied like a quick color grading on top of them, right? So here are the 5 photos that I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to import these into Photoshop. And let me show you how we're going to work with this, right? So the first thing we want to do is identify our photos. This is going to be our first one, or the one at the bottom. So I'm going to call this 4. I'm going to use 4 of these, right? And so this one here will be our top layer. So I'm going to rename this to 1. So I'm going to name this one 2 and this one 3. All right. So now we got all of our images, and let me spread these out so you can kind of see, kind of start to try to visualize what we're going to do here, right? Look, even right here, you can start getting an idea of how this is going to work. Okay. So actually, I'm going to move this up. I'm going to call this one 2, this one 3. All right, so we're going to start with 4, okay? So we're going to position this image. I'm going to try to get the car sort of in the middle. We can pull a guideline over here, and this is 6,000 pixels wide, so I'll have the guideline at 3. And I want to get the subject right in the middle of the photo. I'm going to bring it down a little more, okay? That's going to look good for now. So we're going to bring our next layer up. So I'm going to try to line this road here, if you can see. I'm going to try to line this road up to the road in our base image, okay? So right now I just use Control-T, Apple-T, and a Mac to get the free transform out to resize it. 2 other really valuable tools that you're going to want to be using here is the perspective and the warp tool. So for the perspective tool, to sell this effect a little more, you know, you can kind of adjust the perspective here, and then to try to fill it out perfectly, or to try to fit it perfectly, then we're going to want to use the warp tool right here. So I'm going to try to line these edges up exactly right, at least for the road right now, right? And then we can worry about kind of like this rough side bank a little later. So I'm gonna bring the top layer on, and the top layer is gonna come, and I actually should have shot this image from a lot higher up. It would have helped to sell the effect a lot better. This was another thing. I apologize. I was just in a rush out there in the desert. I was short on time. These are things that I wish I did, but I'm letting you know, so when you do it in your own edit, you avoid these same mistakes. The warp tool also really helps to sell the curve in the image, right? Because otherwise, if you're just connecting these, like snapping them on over top of each other, you're going to notice it just looks very jaggedy and a little bit square right here. So the warp tool just helps to make the road a little more rounded and curved. So let's see. Yeah, we want it about right there, right? Again, I'm just going really quick so you can start to kind of see how this all works. So the next step would be to kind of blend them together. And the way to do this is I'm going to create an adjustment layer right here. And then I'm going to select the eraser tool, and I bring the opacity down. I have it to 40 right now, right? And so the way that an adjustment layer works is I can erase whatever part of this image, and if I want to bring it back, I can actually select the brush tool and draw it back in. So now that we restarted, we get the eraser tool, and I'm going to show you just a rough way to do it. Okay, bring the opacity down and then drag the eraser tool on top of it, and you're going to notice, right, you're going to start to see how the blending works. But I don't want to go too hardcore here. I just want to start blending it a little bit. All right. Like I said, I'm just going to go quick here, so I'm not seeking perfectionism. I'm just trying to give you guys as quick as an example as possible so we can get you out of here. So we're going to be doing the same thing to the top layer now to blend these in. Boom. And now this is very, very rough, but you can kind of tell, what we've achieved here. We already have like a very rough, not very good looking DRONECEPTION, but you're starting to see how this is coming to life. In a perfect world, I would be taking my sweet time with this. I would be paying a lot of attention to the shadows, maybe bringing in some dodging and burning in here. I'll take the different layers and keep warping it. Keep messing around with the perspective to really sell the curve. Right now it's looking very blocky, very jaggedy, so you see the road isn't really curving. And again, there's ways you can do this. I use the stamp tool a lot. And this is why it's important to get a lot of images, right? Because you have so many more details that you can pull from the more images you have. Keep pressing the wrong buttons because I'm used to Mac. Sometimes I switch over to PC, so the hotkeys are a little bit different. I usually kind of mess with these blend lines, and I'll bring some more details into them just to kind of sell the image and break up the monotony. Like I said, this isn't a final image by any means. I don't think I would publish this onto my Instagram, maybe like a little throwaway story or something. But I just wanted to do this really, really quickly to give you guys an idea of how this all works. And I think I've accomplished that. I mean, it is a pretty simple process, right? There's nothing too complex about it. Now, if you want to do it perfectly, sometimes, like the one in the Maldives, for example, that took me like an hour because there was so many complexities, so many like different buildings. So I was cutting them up. If I were to do this like super professionally, what I would have done is I would have taken a lot more images from different angles, and that would just allow me a lot more flexibility here in the editing process, obviously. But I mean, this isn't looking too bad. This is a pretty cool image, and I know you guys have a much better idea of how to make these now. All right, let me get this outro done. Yo, I really hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. Am I going to see some DRONECEPTIONs in your Instagram feeds in the future? That'd be cool. Tag me in them if you do make them. I would love to see it, and I really had a blast making this tutorial. So if you guys want to see more, just let me know in the comments. I said this was a lot of fun, so I'll probably make a lot more in the future. And if you like this video, press like on the video. That really does help. Subscribe, hit the bell. You guys know the drill. I really appreciate you guys rocking with me today. I will catch you in the next video. Peace.